Hello friends, welcome to One Day One Answer initiative of GS Core, in which what we do is we help you in enhancing your skills in answer writing. So today's subject on which we will be doing answer writing, will be practicing answer writing, is polity, and the theme that we have identified for today's subject is judiciary. What we will be doing in the course of this discussion is we will be taking into consideration some sub themes. Alright, first and foremost we will be taking into consideration some sub themes on the basis of which UPSC has been asking questions. ठीक है, देखो questions are not repeated but the sub themes overall are repeated, and most interesting part about judiciary is कि the point of inquiry with respect to that particular sub theme has not changed. ठीक है, so they are asking basically the same things, though the wordings of questions are changing. All right, they can be more specific with respect to sub theme. For example, if they get into judicial independence, what might happen is they may bring in judicial appointments. Okay, but the sub theme is the same, and overall approach that you need to develop for the purpose of writing answer for that particular sub theme, it will also not change. Okay, so what I will do is I will try to give you some pointers with respect to important sub themes. I will try to give you some pointers, and other than that, now what we can also do, what we basically can also do is we can basically identify some important case laws that will help you in writing the answers, because that is a pain point which students basically suffer. After that, we'll look into a PYQ. I have taken a question from the mains of 2024 itself. We will discuss an answer on it, and then you can write answer to the practice question provided by you. And of course, we will hold a discussion over that particular question. The way in which you have written the answers, I will evaluate them. I will provide you the feedback. ठीक है, so let us start with sub themes from the point of view of judiciary. So if I take into consideration previous year's papers, my dear friends, so the first sub theme that I will ask you to concentrate upon while studying judiciary is independence of judiciary. Now remember, while studying judiciary, while basically studying judiciary, what you have to do is keep these particular sub themes in mind. Hence what will happen is your orientation towards reading will be exam specific. Okay, it will be exam specific, and that is what we basically want. देखो, unless and until you are able to identify what you have to get out of the book, your reading will not be output oriented. It will not focus on the output. So independence of judiciary, remember this, and this is something that you have to identify while going through your book. Now in independence of judiciary, what all has to be focused? First and foremost, identify the definition of judiciary. When I say definition of independence of judiciary, what basically is it? Definition of independence of judiciary is judiciary working without fear or favor. Okay, working within the boundaries provided by the constitution, within the framework provided by the constitution and the law, that is independence of judiciary. Also, what we have to know is constitutional provisions provided for independence of judiciary. So यहाँ पे ना you have to remember that independent of judiciary provisions are in two sets. First set is article 124 से लेके 147, and this is about how Supreme Court has been provided independence by the constitution. And then we have article 214 से 231, where the concentration basically is upon independence of High Court. ठीक है, remember that. Specific articles, yes, they are important. Specific articles are important if a specific aspect of independence is asked to you. And again, specific aspect of independence, how we will know कि इस साल ये आ सकता है question में? You will know that if that particular issue is in current affairs. देखो, polity is the subject where there is fusion of static and current syllabus. All right, so whatever is in current affairs, now what UPSC tends to do is, or what UPSC has been doing is, it will pick up static part of that piece of information. So for example, if ordinance has been passed by the president, what UPSC will do is it will ask you question on ordinance making power of the president. In that way I am saying, ठीक है, तो specific issue if it is in news, concentrate upon static part of that issue. पक्का question आएगा, and that is how we at GS Core were able to predict questions. Not, we do not have a 100% record, of course, but we were fairly successful with respect to predicting themes and areas on which questions will be asked, and that you can see in our test series also. Okay, moving ahead. ये याद रखना है, ठीक है, ये याद रखना है, कम से कम रिमेंबर दिस ब्रैकेट, एटलीस्ट रिमेंबर दिस ब्रैकेट, इट विल बी हेल्पफुल, ठीक है. एंड स्पेसिफिक्स आई हैव टोल्ड यू हाउ टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट अपॉन. इसके बाद है ना, थीम ऑफ सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स और कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स हैज टू बी इन योर आंसर. Independence of judiciary is based on this particular concept. Then of course Indian judiciary is fairly independent, or it is very independent because of the power of judicial review, that is has judicial review, that it has, ठीक है. It was due to judicial review that curtailment of the independence of judiciary could be avoided in Minerva Mills case, ठीक है. Judiciary went through the amendment and it said कि नहीं, this amendment is taking away judicial review, this amendment is taking away judicial review, and if there is no judicial review, what will happen is, and if there is curtailment of judicial review, what will basically happen is power or independence of judiciary will go away, ठीक है. What is judicial review? Judiciary looking into the act of legislature and executive and determining whether that act is according to constitution or not, that is judicial review. Some landmark judgments have to be part of this sub-theme. Which are they now? First and foremost, Keshavananda Bharati. Keshavananda Bharati has to be part of it. Second is SP Gupta, which related to transfer of High Court judges. SP Gupta wala case, and of course Minerva Mills case, which stated that judicial review is part of basic structure. So this case laws, remember this case laws, note down this case laws for the sub-theme of independence of judiciary. Another question जो इस साल भी आया था is based on the theme of judicial activism and judicial overreach. Judicial activism and judicial overreach. तो यहाँ पे again what is important? Defining the concept is important. So when it basically comes to judicial activism, what is it? Judiciary going beyond its traditional or conventional boundaries for the sake of taking care of citizens. Judicial activism therefore is judiciary filling the gap that are left open due to inaction of legislative or executive branch. That basically is judicial activism. Judicial overreach, on the other hand, what it is? Judiciary pushing back legislature and executive from the area in which they are working. So judicial activism is something that is welcome. Judicial overreach is something that has been criticized. Alright, that has been criticized. What you have to showcase over here is, what you have to basically showcase, or what has been asked over the period of time, is utility of judicial activism. Utility of judicial activism, necessity of judicial activism, and how basically judicial activism has grown over the period of time. And 2024 there has been a question on PIL. PIL is the starting point of judicial activism. Alright, we'll discuss about it. So यहाँ पे ना, what has to come in if judicial activism is in question? What has to come in? PILs do have to come in. Alright, PILs do have to come in. Also, what you have to take into consideration is reason for judicial activism. ठीक है, what basically has been the reason the judiciary has to take up this particular concept. Also, what you have to basically do is, you have to mention in your answer, or there has to be basically orientation of your answer in such a way that judicial activism is welcomed. Judicial activism is welcomed, but judicial overreach, what it does is it transgresses or violates the principle of separation of powers, which should be taken care of, So your orientation should be towards separation of powers and balance of powers between the three organs of government. You cannot, UPSC aspirants are in love with judiciary. It's okay to have that emotion. I completely agree with that. It is okay to have that emotion, but your answer should not be oriented only towards judiciary. You should give space in your answer to the concept of separation of powers and balance of powers. ठीक है, checks and balances, the principles of checks and balances should find mention in your answer with respect to judicial activism and judicial overreach. ठीक है, then what is important? Case laws, of course. And if I take into consideration case laws with respect to judicial activism as such, then what you can mention is Vishaka case, very important. Vishaka case, which then became the foundation ground for the purpose of POSH. ठीक है, for the purpose of POSH. So Vishaka case has to be mentioned, where a gap was left with respect to security and safety of female workers in workplaces. ठीक है, security and safety of female workers. So that gap was filled by judiciary by providing for Vishaka guidelines. Also what you can mention is Prakash Singh case, where for the purpose of reforms in police department, judiciary basically provided guidelines. One more case you can mention, SR Bomai. So these three cases with respect to judicial activism are more than enough. Basically are more than enough. Alright, now let us move on to the next theme. I hope this will help you. Now let us move on to next theme, that is judicial accountability. Now this will be a tricky question. Why? Because in this particular question, of course you have to provide for importance of maintaining judicial accountability, but you have to also showcase that judicial accountability should not be at the cost of judicial independence. Even in the answers of judicial independence, now you have to bring in this point. There has to be balance between accountability. There has to be basic balance between accountability and independence of judiciary. Okay. What you have to also provide in this answer is requirement for code of conduct of judges. Okay. With respect to judicial accountability, there has to be some literature to be read by you when it basically comes to constitutional provisions on accountability. For example, removal of judges, for example, discussion on behavior of judges, that have to be mentioned in judicial accountability. Then what you can do is you can provide for suggestions with respect to judicial accountability. And when I say suggestions, now of course you have to mention the role of bar council, you have to mention role of civil society, and then you have to mention role of judiciary itself in upholding accountability. Last but not the least, do bring out contribution that information technology can do with respect to enhancing accountability. For example, National Judicial Data Grid. National Judicial Data Grid has enhanced accountability, and that has to be provided for, or that has to be mentioned in your answer. That has to be basically mentioned in your answer. So this is about judicial accountability. One particular concept with respect to independence and accountability of judiciary, which has basically caught the attention over the period of time, is of course collegium system. So what we expect is more or less question will be on judicial accountability, and we have to relate it on independence or judicial independence, and that has to be related with accountability. And then in that, one of the points more or less will be the manner in which judicial officers are basically appointed, especially in High Court and Supreme Court. Judicial officials, when I say it is judges in High Court and Supreme Court. Okay. So when it comes to collegium, na, so this is sub theme ka sub theme. What we basically see in it, what is expected from you when you are answering the question on, when you are basically answering the question on when you are basically answering the question on collegium system, and what are the judgments that have to be written. First and foremost, again, define collegium system, and if there is necessity according to the focus of the question, then what I will ask you, write about the origin of the collegium system also. Of course, then you have to write first, second, third judges cases, but definition of collegium system is very important. What is definition of collegium system? Collegium system is where senior most judges of the Supreme Court look into the appointment of judges to the Constitutional Court of India. Okay. Hence, keeping executive and legislative branch out of the process of appointments, through which what is exerted? Independence is exerted. Independence of judiciary is exerted. But then the different angle, if you look at it from different angle, now what it leads to? It leads to the process basically being opaque. Okay? Process basically being opaque, process basically not being in favor of separation of powers. So that is why the concept of collegium, this particular concept of collegium, now what it does basically is it hangs between accountability and independence, and hence collegium ka point is important when the question is on independence and when the question is on accountability with respect to judiciary. Okay? Yahan pe what you basically also have to do is you have to write the pros and cons. More or less, if the question concentrates only on collegium system, it will be on evaluation of collegium system. It basically will be on the evaluation of collegium system. Now, when you write upon this system, obviously you will also be writing about, initiatives that were taken, initiative that was basically taken for the purpose of replacing it, alright, and reforming the system of appointments. And what was that initiative? Of course, it was National Judicial Appointments Commission. So mention about that also, and mention what basically Supreme Court held. Supreme Court said National Judicial Appointments Commission, what it will do is it will compromise with independence of judiciary, and independence of judiciary is basic structure, is part of the basic structure. Okay? What you have to also provide for is, in this particular type of question, if it is on evaluation, you have to provide for some suggestions. Some suggestions with respect to reforms in the way in which appointments to the constitutional courts can be made. There you can write creating a board, having members on the board from different areas, for example from different areas. Alright, those particular suggestions have to be part of your answer. What has to be focused with respect to suggestion is reforms. How it will be different from the existing structure, that has to be part of your answer. Second thing, when you write about the suggestions, please take into account independence of judiciary. Okay? So do not put in suggestion that may basically lead to creation of something which will take away independence of judiciary, because that is of utmost importance. Independence of judiciary is of utmost importance. Alright, remember that. Then question is on evaluate, obviously then we have to say whether collegium system is right or wrong. Okay? So you don't have to write completely in favor of collegium system. What basically you can orient yourself towards is collegium system जो है वो important है. ठीक है, collegium system has its own flaws, but at this point of time this is the best thing that we have got. All right, it is the best thing that we have basically got. Of course, improvement over it is possible and has to be done. Improvement over collegium system, and यहाँ पे आपने reforms तो already you have written, तो improvement over collegium system is important, and this is an issue which has to be taken into consideration by the legislative, executive branch, and also the judicial branch. देखो, With respect to judiciary, na, judiciary itself has stated number of times कि collegium system is not foolproof. All right, it has its own flaws, but at this point of time, this is what we have. तो वो अपने आंसर में लिख दो. That is again more than important. That is again more than enough. That basically is more than enough. Now, when we come to the next theme, now when we take into consideration the next theme, constitutional morality. Now, this has been constitutional morality. Basically, this has been one of the themes that has been asked by UPSC over the last 5 years, and questions have repeated on constitutional morality. So what I will again suggest you is define constitutional morality, define the concept that is the focus of the question in the first instance. Define the concept of constitutional morality. So what basically is constitutional morality? It is adherence to values and principles enshrined in the constitution and going beyond the literal provisions, matlab going beyond the words that have been written, taking into consideration the spirit of those words. That is constitutional morality, following the values and principles of the constitution by looking into the spirit of the world, not just their literal meaning. That basically is constitutional morality. So if I have to take into consideration constitutional morality, and basically उस पे questions क्या पूछेंगे, if I have to take into consideration that ना, तो पहले जैसे मैंने बोला define it, then talk about its evolution over the period of time. Third thing what I will say is mention important judgment, landmark judgments with respect to constitutional morality. For example, Nowtej Johar case. Note down this case, ठीक है. It is important from the point of view of Article 21, right to privacy, and also from the point of view of constitutional morality. We have Sabrimala case. Which you can mention from the point of view of constitutional morality. ठीक है. What the central theme of the question will be when it comes to constitutional morality the central theme basically will be societal norms. I will have to rub some spaces. I hope you have taken down what was written on collegium. Okay, so जैसे मैं बोल रहा था ना, central theme of constitutional morality has been, and you have to prepare for it, has been balance between constitutional morality and social norms, societal norms. ठीक है. For example, homosexuality, which was focused in Nowtej Johar case, or banning, not allowing women to enter temples with respect to Sabrimala. ठीक है. Now that basically were social norms. ठीक है. And why were they challenged? Because the writings of the constitutions, the spirit of the constitution basically went against these particular norms. ठीक है, went against these particular norms. So establishment of constitutional positions, and they basically in such cases being in clash with established social norms, वो आपको क्वेश्चन में पूछा जाएगा. What you have to basically do is you have to orient yourself towards constitutional morality. All right, you have to orient yourself towards constitutional morality, because as future civil servants you are first and foremost answerable to the constitution and then to everything else. All right, आपका primary focus है to implement constitutional provisions, so your orientation has to be towards constitutional morality. And then in the end, the last sub-theme that I will discuss is reforms. Reforms in judiciary. Again, when it comes to judicial reforms, what basically will come into account? Of course, appointments, second is the process in which judiciary works, ठीक है. delays caused with respect to the judicial processes, the issue of transparency, the issue with respect to judicial overreach, issue with respect to judicial overreach, issues with respect to reach of judiciary, issues with respect to impact of judiciary when it comes to society, when it comes to economy, when it comes to various sectors basically. All right, so these are the basic pointers. These basically are the pointers on which reforms in judiciary are expected. These are basically some pointers on which the question might be framed with respect to reforms in judiciary, ठीक है. Or else if there is a broader question on reforms, now these basically are the challenges, जो रिफॉर्म्स के बीच में आ रही है, ठीक है, which are in a way causing hurdles from the point of view of reforms. Of course, what has to be done in such questions? Suggestions have to be provided. They will ask you कि भाई ठीक है, reforms are necessary, and then they will ask you for suggestions with respect to those particular reforms, how those particular reforms have to be implemented. Again, यहाँ पे what role different stakeholders will play ना, that you have to be more specific, ठीक है. So there will be role by IT, civil society. We have already discussed most of these points, ठीक है. तो I will not repeat, I will not bore you from that, on that, but you have to more or less bring in as many stakeholders as possible, and also what you have to do here is provide for comparisons, ठीक है. If there is a better system working somewhere in the world, what you have to do is mention that as an example, mention basically that as an example. चलो, now let us go to today's question. So today's question basically was on judicial activism, as I told you. मतलब this year's question basically was on judicial activism. What was the question, and what basically is an answer that you will need to write upon it? So the question was, sorry, I was very thirsty. The question basically was asked, explain the reasons for growth of public interest litigation in India. As a result of it, has Indian Supreme Court emerged as the world's most powerful judiciary? This basically was the question. So what you have to provide for in the answer, what has to be your attitude, what basically has to be your attitude while answering this question? First and foremost in this question, what you do is, what you have to basically do is, you have to define public interest litigation. Define PIL. First, let us discuss the approach and then we will discuss the answer. Don't worry. So first you have to define PIL. Second thing that you have to do is, you have to provide for utility of PIL. In brief, in the introduction, utility of PIL. ठीक है. When I say utility of PIL, obviously the orientation has to be towards its social impact, more towards the social impact. ठीक है. Then let us talk about, then what we will do is, we will provide for PIL and reasons. So what you will do is, you will define or you will explain PIL in detail in the main body. Introduction mein you have talked about the definition, you have mentioned the definition, more than enough. When you come to the main body, now in main body what you do is explain what is PIL a bit more in focused manner. ठीक है. तो make it wider than the definition. Make the explanation a bit wider than the definition. And in that, ठीक है, as you end the definition of what is PIL, now what you do is mention the reasons. ठीक है. Then the second part of the question has to be taken into consideration. As a result of it, has the Indian Supreme Court emerged as the most powerful judiciary? यहाँ पे क्या करना है ना, you have to provide for reasons. Again यहाँ पे provide करना है reasons for why Indian judiciary is considered to be powerful. And then come to the conclusion, then basically come to the conclusion by providing, by providing in a way references, by providing examples of the other judiciaries in the world, and then come to what I told you, comparison with other judiciaries of the world, and then come to a final conclusion of whether Indian judiciary is the most powerful judiciary in the world. All right, that has to be finally written by you. That evaluation has to be finally written by you. So this is the approach. This basically is the approach that you have to take into consideration while writing the answer. While writing the answer on PIL. ठीक है. अब थोड़ा आंसर में चलते हैं. ठीक है. Let us take into consideration the actual answer. तो as I told you ना, your first point will be definition of PIL. So what basically is PIL? PIL is public interest litigation, and what it basically is, litigation made by litigation oh I'm sorry litigation made by an entity not having locus standi in the case, not having locus standi in the cause of action. Now what basically is locus standi? Locus standi is why I am basically filing this petition. Okay, what is my interest in that petition? PL basically is I am filing a petition even when I am not interested personally in that particular, I have no interest particularly in that particular issue. That is PL. Okay, that basically is PIL. Okay, what has happened through it? What impact it has caused? It has caused public spirited individuals and organizations to plea for the rights of those who cannot do it on themselves. Thus providing for implementation of constitutional provisions at the grassroots level, or for the most marginalized people in India. That basically is PL. If we take into consideration reasons, why PIL has developed so much in India, if we take into reasons for that, so what is first reason? First reason is of course judicial activism. Judiciary has been more than happy for reaching out to the people, and judiciary has to do it because of gaps left by executive, mostly executive and legislative branch. So this is the first reason. There is a scope for PIL, and hence PIL has been utilized now. So that is the first point. Second point is it provides for justice. देखो, PIL have been, PILs have been expanded on the horizon, and main reason for that is they have provided results. And as they have provided results, what we see is more and more people getting access to it. More and more people basically wanting access to it or believing in it. ठीक है? So that is the second reason it has worked, and hence what people are doing is people are trying to reach out to the judiciary even more. People are trying to reach out to the judiciary even more. Third reason, of course, is societal concern. Indian Supreme Court has time and again considered Constitution of India to be a social document, providing rights to the most marginalized. ठीक है? Hence it becomes responsibility of the Supreme Court to take care of that particular rights and take into consideration what impact will its working have on the society. So that particular societal concern, what does it do is it provides for PIL being utilized, PIL being taken into consideration, and PIL being welcomed. PIL basically been welcomed by the Indian judiciary. Third is what PIL also provide for is attention, media attention. ठीक है. So what PIL have done is, because of the media attention that it has got, it has created public awareness with respect to rights, and it has also told, or it has also informed the public how those rights are protected, and hence people have been more awakened with respect to their rights and the way in which they are protected, and they are taking use of it, and basically they are making use of it. ठीक है. So these are basically overall reasons why there has been expansion of the use of PL. You can add one more reason, and one more reason is, of course, that India is a third world country. ठीक है. India is a third world country, and that is the reason, and because of it, what we do see is large number of people not being in the position to know their rights, and second, they also not being in the position, ठीक है, even if they know their rights, now they not being in the position of protecting those rights. ठीक है, protecting those rights. India is also gifted by individuals who are willing to take up cause of such people. So that is another reason for PL, and you should mention it. You basically should mention PL in India are not basically or mostly for the purpose of protecting the upper strata or the middle strata of the society. Yes, PIL have been filed for them also, but mostly PIL have been filed for those who are not able to fight for themselves. ठीक है. And this number is large in India due to we being still a third world country. Now taking into consideration the second part of the question, तो इसमें ना पहले you have to, as I told you, find the reasons why Indian Supreme Court is considered to be powerful. And first reason is in the question itself: judicial activism and PILs. So what they have done is they have erased, you can say they have erased the gap, or they have bridged the gap between people and the institute of judiciary, and hence what we also see is enhancement of the status of judiciary in the belief of people. Now that particular enhanced stature, now what it has created is, it has created a powerful judiciary. देखो, institutes function in the effectiveness of institute is on the basis of legitimacy that they carry, and PILs do carry, judiciary carries that particular legitimacy. Again I repeat, institutes work more efficiently, or implementation of the work of an institute is more effective if its legitimacy is high in the eyes of people. Judiciary carries that particular legitimacy. ठीक है. So that has become one of the reasons. That has basically become one of the reasons for judiciary to become more and more powerful. ठीक है, more and powerful or strong. Second is expansive interpretation of Article 21. ठीक है. So what has judiciary done over the period of time is it has taken into consideration different aspects of life, all right, and not gone by literal wordings of life and personal liberty. It has interpreted life and liberty in a very progressive manner, and hence various aspects and various sectors of life, what have happened to them, what has basically happened to them, they have been now guarded by judiciary. Okay, they have now been guarded by judiciary, and hence what do we see is judiciary in that way becoming powerful. देखो, if a particular aspect is considered to be part of life, ठीक है, if a particular aspect is considered to be part of life and personal liberty, what basically will happen, judiciary's judiciary strength with respect to that particular sector or that particular issue increases and judiciary becomes more powerful. ठीक है, यहाँ पे the case law that I would want you to mention is मेनका गांधी case. ठीक है, मेनका गांधी case where basically judiciary basically stated that right to life is not mere animal existence. Other than that, you can take up environment वाला issues. MC मेहता वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया का केस ले सकते हो, देहरादून कॉलेज का केस ले सकते हो. Those cases have to be mentioned by you. Those cases basically have to be mentioned by you. Then, because Supreme Court or judiciary is considered to be guardian of constitution, and this was stated by the founding fathers themselves. ठीक है, Supreme Court, because it was stated to be guardian of the constitution. Even Dr. Ambedkar, now mention here Dr. Ambedkar, what did he say? It is watchdog. What is Supreme Court? It is watchdog of constitution. ठीक है. So what happens is if provisions with respect to constitutions are violated by executive or legislature, who will tell them to stop at a particular border? It will be the judiciary. So this is inherent power that judiciary has. Other thing is, it is also the final interpreter, na? It is also the interpreter of the constitution. So it will basically say what the constitution means, and if it has the authority of stating what the constitution means, obviously its strength is more. Obviously it becomes more powerful. ठीक है. Over the period of time, what we have also seen is Supreme Court's judgment have evolved it into a more powerful institution. Alright, it has evolved Supreme Court into a more powerful institution. Supreme Court of 1955 is the same as that of 2024. The Supreme Court is same, but the way in which Supreme Court looks upon itself and the way in which people look upon the Supreme Court, that has changed. And this change has happened slowly and over the period of time due to landmark judgments. So landmark judgment is one of the reasons why we see Supreme Court to be so powerful in this day and age. Last I will say it is from the point of view of, it is basically, you can take into consideration judiciary being powerful due to the independence that constitution provisions have provided to the judiciary. It is due to the independence that has been provided by constitutional provisions to the judiciary, and second is the way in which judiciary has guarded that independence. So that again makes Indian judiciary to be quite powerful. Okay, it makes Indian judiciary to be quite powerful. यहाँ पे ना, what you can do is you can mention the case laws of Minerva Mills, and judicial review has to be mentioned in this answer. ठीक है, Minerva Mills case example you can take, and second example of course you can take of National Judicial Appointments Commission wala case. Done. This is your reasons for Indian judiciary being powerful. Now when it comes to whether it is the most powerful judiciary in the world, वहाँ पे as I told you ना, you have to go into comparison. So if you compare Indian judiciary with other judiciaries of the world, two countries are more than enough. One is UK. and other is United States. Indian judiciary is more powerful than you can say, judiciary of United Kingdom, but it is not as powerful as the judiciary of United States. Not as powerful as the judiciary of United States. That basically you have to showcase by comparison. Hence, it is not as if Indian judiciary is the most powerful judiciary, but what you have to mention is Indian judiciary is one of the most effective judiciaries in the world, and it has protected the rights of Indian people and the constitution as envisaged by the founding fathers. So it is not as powerful, but it is not the most powerful, but we can say it is one of the most effective judiciaries. Okay, so that has to be mentioned in your answer finally. Okay, this was our question, this was our PYQ, and I hope you will do well when it comes to writing